Welcome. This is my first ever live on YouTube, but I do make content every now and then on YouTube, just sharing, my life, my tech, my travel, where, some, it's basically for my passion. I like making videos and I like to share my content creating kind of, I tell myself as a creative vessel. So I like to look at it as art and, you know, not just making content and showing people like, hey, this is what's happening. I'm not about bragging, showing off. It's a memory for me. Uh, I lost my mom in 2011 and I realized that as a family, her included, I sh- I had their tech with phones and digicams and like a little digital camera, but I never shot videos or pictures as much as I should, so I can relive these memories for myself and with my loved ones. But today's topic is and category is about investing, and I do this as well for a living for a couple of family members, clients, where I help them grow their portfolios. I personally have been doing it for more than a decade, but I started a public account recently to share this with people and to show them like how easy it is actually to do, and why to start now because the market's on sale. Like whatever people are telling you, it's a scary time, you're going to lose money. Yeah, I mean, I've lost money 100% in the market, but I've also made money. So, and the reason that I made a public portfolio is because I want to show you the losses that I'm taking to be the real. This is not financial uh, education. I'm not certified. I'm just a person uh, sharing my experiences with these apps, with the brokerage, uh, how much money I'm putting daily on the public portfolio, and the losses are real, But the reason that I'm sharing this information right now because although this first ever video, I've been sharing this information for a long time, right? If you know me, you know why I talk about this. But this is with YouTube, like the people who want to get in, like the first time, it can be scary, and it could also be like really complex. When I talk to some people, like especially my close members, friends, and family, they're like, how do you do this? It's just so overwhelming, and it might be, but like I term it as like if you can sign up with a Instagram account, a Facebook account, whatever, right? It's the same process. Obviously, certain of these apps need like ID licenses or social security number, or address. So it's from that aspect. Those are the only things that you might need extra, besides a Facebook or Instagram account or TikTok, or whatever, right? Um, Other than that, once you literally sign up, which is probably the process on whatever the app or brokerage you use, it's like go. Like you can start putting $1 in a day or thousands or whatever, right? But the reason that you should start now is because the market's on sale. And without further ado, yeah, so without further ado, let me just show you my Robinhood portfolio, which is the public portfolio, which I shared. I started this um, probably a year in, and I didn't put much money, but it was like a test to show people, the people that I was teaching, how to get on to Robinhood and use it and blah blah. Blah. So this is just a public portfolio. This only has 5,700, and I say only because that's my choice of word. Um, and my it's like I said, it's not about boasting or anything. It's my other private portfolio is obviously started long time ago, so it doesn't show you. Although the market's down in red, I'm still like killing it in there, and my version of killing it can be whatever to whoever, right? But yeah, it's still in a good profit. And when I say good profit, like I think that's easily like like overall the portfolio is probably pushing out like 40 to 50% overall, right? They like individual stocks in there, like some are like literally like 100 plus percentage up, right? So anyway, going back to the what I want people to look at is like today I'm down $118, right? You can see that $120. Now I've put some money into, that's my buying power right now. It's zero because I already traded it this morning and it's 10:15 a.m. So right now, like I'm in some crypto, XRP, down 412. H bar down 40. And like I said, this is just the public portfolio, right? So I'm just going to go through these stocks with you guys, and what I'm buying and what I'm adding into the public portfolio, right? So right now I'm buying SoFi. You can look these companies up uh, and see what they do. And that'll be another video that I go live and I'll pick out like a couple of companies and talk more in detail why I'm picking these companies, right? So just like in a summary, SoFi is literally, if you look at a traditional bank, they are the online banks of today's world, right? Because if you looked at COVID and where markets went and everything, a lot of branches, like I deal personally with HSBC, and I'm in the US. Now I moved over from Dubai. So I used to deal with HSBC out there. And so the move was smooth. And after COVID, and I used to live in New York before, um, there was only one or two branches left in New York City, which was weird. And there was only one next to me. It was in Chinatown. So SoFi is basically a bank where I see the growth going into the future. So it's building, like, if you like, I also invest in American Express. So these are the banks that I've chosen for my future growth. And the reason that I do this, because I have a SoFi account, I have an American Express credit card. So I invest in companies and brands that I know, I believe them. And like I said, this is just my opinion on stuff. I just want to invest in companies, and not just in companies or brands that I use, but like even like, for example, like I use Robinhood. So, I'm buying Robinhood in the public portfolio, like 4.42 shares. I'm already down $69, right, in Robinhood. So in the public portfolio, what I've done is basically it's more of stocks that I tell people, like, if you use Uber, get into Uber, right? Like, so it has some connection. If you're buying Johnson baby powder or whatever, right? No Diddy, but like with oil and whatever. Put some money in Johnson Johnson's, right? So I use Coinbase, so I have some in coin. But what I want to get to, right? Like, before you do all this, the fundamentals of getting into investing, right? Whether it's $1 or 100 or 10 or 1,000, whatever, make sure you pick a foundation. Now, what a foundation is, basically, you have these ETFs, which is basically exchange traded fund, where like the VOO follows the S&P 500. So basically, these companies are in these baskets of ETF, right? So instead of buying an S&P 500, because right now the S&P 500, I think, is about 6,500. Let me just look. Yeah, so the S&P right now is $6,431, and VOO, the Vanguard S&P 500 follows that. Yeah, so it's about 588 per share. Now you don't have to buy one share in Robinhood; you can buy fractional shares, which is great. So what I'm saying is that there are certain ETF that your portfolio should be higher than these individual stocks. Again, just my opinion. And why you do this is because it's a safer and it's a good foundation, right? So you need good ground level to have stability, especially like in COVID, recessions, any turbulent in terms of market. We need to have a proper foundation. So VOO is in the public portfolio. Right now, my VOO is not much, because obviously I have VOO in my private portfolio. But right here, you can see the amount of shares I have in this. It's not much, and I'm down 25, so I'm just showing you. But SCHD is more, and it's more affordable to get in that. I'm up 20, right? So it all depends when you start getting into. So this is the Schwab dividends. It's just 30. But on my, so if you look here, wait, let me just pull it up. So my 30, right? So I have 9.97 shares. My average cost is about $28. Market value is 305. So it's only gone up $20, which is about 7%. And in the public portfolio, what I'm showing is that, like, even if you put 10, 20, 30 every week in these good secured ETFs, VOO, SCHD, what else? SPMO, right? Like, this is just for learning. Why I trade on Robinhood is just for learning, to show people what I'm doing, and there's losses, right? SPMO is currently down because, like I said, I just started this just to show people, like, this is what I'm doing. Because if I show you all my private portfolio, which I don't want to show because it doesn't show reality where, because everything's, although the market's in red, I'm green, and that portfolio has been like for a decade. So, I want to be real and authentic. Like, so if I started today, this is what I'm doing as a fresh person starting, right? So in the public portfolio, two banks I've chosen, SoFi and American Express, right? I've chosen these. You can put like SoFi right now is $15 per share. You want to put $15? Go ahead. Amazing price point, um, right? In my opinion, again, you want to put into American Express. American Express is 295 for a share. You can put fractional shares, one, two, three, five. I think in Robinhood, I think the minimum is $5. I mean, that's what I do. If I do something, minimum is five. Those are the banks for you guys, right? Now, the other two that in order I'm going is Coin and Hood. So in my Coin, you can see I'm down as well. Hood I'm down, but if you look, I went and bought Hood this morning, and like in the public portfolio, I'm just showing people like, hey, this is one buy, right? So today, well, I didn't buy it today. I bought it on March 24th. You can see right here, March 24th, and I put 60, and I got it at 69.61. Currently, Hood's at 66.78, right? So those are the two that I'm putting in. So non-banks, but the brokerages on apps. So if you invest in crypto, Coinbase is really big in the US. So why wouldn't you invest in coin, right? I use Hood, Robinhood, so I put money in Robinhood. Again, VOO, Foundation. Microsoft, I don't like the only thing Microsoft that I use for work um, is Office, right? So like Word, I still use Word, I still use Outlook, PowerPoint sometimes, not as much as I used to back in the day. But I know Microsoft is like all the computers outside of the Apple ecosystem needs Microsoft, right? So all these companies, Dell and HP and whatever who make PCs, collab with Microsoft. And yeah, I believe that won't go anytime soon. There's noise about like AI taking some sort of market share from them, and yeah, but like even Microsoft is kind of like working with AI and stuff. So like I believe in this company. So if you're using Microsoft Office or whatever, or you have a Windows PC, or sort of that, invest in these companies because they are the biggest. Like if you look up the company, what is the evaluation of this company? So let me see. Like, and there's a lot of stats. Like if you open Robinhood, like don't get overwhelmed. Like you don't need to read everything and understand everything, right? You can just see like it's funded, then the CEO, the employees, because where's the headquarters, right? So it's quite straightforward. Now, what's Microsoft if you don't know, right? Um, the news, what's happening about Microsoft right now. So all of this is on the app. People, analysts are saying 92% buy, 80%, 8% is hold, zero is selling. So people are not selling, right? Um, so the details in apps, if you actually spend time, is like Instagram, right? Like if you actually go into how many views you got, how many likes you got, and follow the rhythm, and so it's the same sort of metrics in these apps that one understands when you look at them, right? So the company, let me just pull it up on my PC because it's much easy. So Microsoft right now as a company is currently the market cap, which is basically what the company is like valued at, is 2.6 trillion or 2.66 trillion, right? And let me just put that in prospects into something like Netflix, right? Of course, Microsoft is older, so Microsoft again is 2.66 trillion. Netflix is 397 billion, right? So you can see the growth. And why I mentioned Netflix to Microsoft is just showing like most of my audience right now, all my clients are in the early 20s. Some are in the mid 30s, but most of them are the early 20s, where I'm actually helping some of my friends' children get into investing, right? So I tell them like, okay, they're probably not, because once I say like, hey, your DNA is, you like Starbucks, so why don't you buy Starbucks stock and just hold it for a little longer and invest, and because Starbucks keeps on going up. Again, it's on sale right now, but the whole market's on sale, right? But Netflix is also good because stock that I personally, it's not in my public, it's in my private, right? And I got into Netflix probably about 5 years ago when it was about, I don't know, like I want to say like less than $20. And today it's right now, if you get into it, Netflix is about 93.76. So, if you do the maths, yeah. And it's about compounding, right? The market compounds if you have time. You gotta have patience. You gotta be consistent what you're doing. Like if you really want to see growth, you gotta ask yourself like, because scared money doesn't make real money. Again, these are just my opinions, right? So you got to do what's best for you. If you've got like I wish I started investing, or someone actually told me, Jeremy, you're 20, start doing it. And in today's day and age, you can even start like, if we had kids, I would like start doing it for them. So once they're like 20 and 30, they're already millionaires, but they also know the concept about investing, not going on and buying Lambos or whatever, right? So going back to the public portfolio, right? So after the banks, again, which is so far in American Express, I are in Coinbase and Robinhood. Then I went to the ETF, which are VO, SCHD, and SPMO. From Microsoft, we're going to move on to Google. So Google's a great company. I don't need to explain Google. Everybody knows Google. I mean, YouTube's even owned by Google. So it's down in the public account. I've only got 1.9 shares of Google. My average cost is $315. Market value 542. Right? Total return down minus 73. Did I pick up any today in the public portfolio? Hold up. So today is March 27, but in March, so I'll probably add some in the public portfolio later today. But I bought some on 24th of March for $50 at 291 share, and currently Google's at 277, right? So why I'm showing you these things is because you can just put fractional shares, buy. Like if you go to trade, you can literally buy on Robinhood. Bro, this is easy. $1, $10, $100. Fund the account. You can even if you look at buy, look if you want like this is what's mad, bro. Like with these apps, because if I want to say deposit funds, right, and say 500, and you choose an account, it also shows you like I'm gonna just cover my HPC account, but it also shows you like Apple Instapay. That's crazy. So I don't know if you can do. I've never used a credit card or anything to buy this, but they make it kind of really easy, but also scary. But know what you want to put your money in and how you're putting your money in. I would just go by a traditional checking bank and put money in, or send some money to Robinhood from whatever, right? But I wouldn't do it on a credit card if you can, which I don't know. But yeah. So Google 100%, Nvidia again in the public, just to show you guys. Was really weird. Mentioning dividend payout 0.001, which you get dividends. So some of these companies that you invest in pay dividends, but it's really funny to see like how low it is in, because my Nvidia private portfolio is huge compared to this, right? So currently it's at 167, 182. That's the average cost I got in 1.3 shares, and I'm down in the public portfolio $18 down, right? Again, if you into tech and you know that everything is processed by these chips, Nvidia, AMD, why not buy into it? Because these companies like Google, Meta, you name it, right? They all need these chips to process. Like analysts are saying 93% buy, 6% is holding, and one is selling. So, right, like I said, it's not, look at the fair value, right? So currently they're saying it's 260, right? So it's at a fair value. When these guys are saying the fair, it's at a fair value of 260, but currently Nvidia is down 167. So their fair value is 260. So if you put in, it's basically like $100 down, if you, right? So this is what I'm saying, right? Get into companies that you believe in, I believe in companies like Adobe because I use Adobe for my work, for my business, right? In the public account, I have Adobe, just a dollar, 1.8 shares. The average cost is 275. I'm down $73, right? But let me show you something, right? So Adobe is right 235 right now, right? Check this out. On Jan 2nd, right? It was There you go. It was $350 on top. It's crazy. Look, this is my first live. Like I usually don't shoot content like this. So yeah. So I'm gonna get better. So yeah. So on Jan in the beginning of the year, Jan 2nd, it was $350, right? Right now it's 235. 235. So if you use Adobe, put some money in Adobe, right? Whether you're freelancing with design or whatever, that's what I'm doing, right? So I'm just going to run the companies that I do, and I don't want this to be a long video, but a video that is kind of like from a real person saying, "Bro, you got this," you know. And I say, "Bro," it's for everyone, no matter what gender, right? So I'll just say, "Bro." So invest in companies that you know of, you believe in. Like if you use Apple, get into Apple. If you use Uber Eats, the Uber cab, get Uber. If you're using Johnson's and Johnson product, invest in Johnson's. What else? If you like Starbucks, invest in Starbucks. If you like Nike, Nike's on sale, get some Nike. All right. If you play golf, this is a cool uh, golf company to get in, right? So, but have your ETFs set up: SPMO, VOO, VUG, Triple Q. What else? SCHD. If I didn't say that again, but yeah. So I want to leave it with that. Just invest, guys. Like, put some money aside, take some money. Everyone's got some money, right? Like I said, I showed you like you could buy how much of these companies. Like, it literally allows you to buy $1, $1. You know, so please go look at the market. Reach out if you want to say like help me, guide me or something. I'll text you back, message you, whatever. But like make sure you get into the market into the right things, right companies where these companies, you're going to use them, people around you are using them, uh, and good companies, stable companies. And yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. Peace.